Hello everyone, and welcome back to Divinity, Original Sin. We arrived in the harbor of Cyseal last time, and there's actually a bunch of crates and such that I can loot here. I don't think there's anything really useful in them, so I'm just going to check this batch and then probably not all of them. Look, there was an eyeball in one of those crates, just randomly. Now, this episode and probably the next one are going to be... Okay. Still seems to me like the audio volume's a little loud, so I'm going to make the FX down to 20 maybe. Music to 20 as well, ambient can go down a little as well.
You'll pay for that! You'll pay for that!
Turn these things down as well. Okay. I'm hoping that'll be a little better. It's loud on my ears. It might not be that loud in the final video because I can change the volume, but if it's very loud on my ear, I end up talking very loudly. So that tends to be bad for quality. And yeah, we hear some nice little songs in the background. As I said, this episode and probably the next one are going to be fairly talky and not very intense in terms of action. There is something quite fun here. Well, the fish rack isn't the fun thing, but there's a chest here, but you can't get to it because there's a rope in the way. So yeah, even my character is commenting on it. And we can't do anything, we can't attack it or anything. I mean, we could stick our sword in the ground, but that's useless. So, we just can't get there, and we don't have enough strength to move it, so... this wooden crate, for example, we could throw, but we can't get to it, so... I don't actually know how to get to that chest yet. I suspect it'll be something that's unveiled later on. There's still a lot of volume here. I'm hoping it's okay. Okay, let's talk to Pablo. See if he's got anything interesting to say. Stop moving. And actually...
Greetings!
Okay. Charm is the one that's supposed to do the talking in my party. It's still very loud. Anyway, so he's commenting on the fact that we saved that ship. If you remember at the end of last episode, that burning ship in the harbor, we cast our rain spell on that to save it. So let's ask him about that burning ship. And we can trade with him as well. He has tea herbs, or herbs. And some old cloth shoes, but I don't really have anything I want to give him in return, so that's fine. I thought the old gal's fate was sealed when the Orcshaman set his fiery gaze in her sails, but you managed to rescue her from a watery grave. Closest thing to a miracle I've ever seen. Okay. I think even though he's got a special name, he doesn't appear to have any special dialogue. So I'll take my leave.
Is that why we never sailed to you?
Do we have here Marv?
Greetings!
Okay, also nothing relevant.
Bye.
You will see all the
Greetings.
mundane options here on other characters,
Bye.
so don't worry about that. Who do we have here? A sailor and Conrad.
Greetings!
Okay, so tell me about yourself, Conrad. Name's Conrad, cargo trader, sea captain, and expert in all things nautical. Folks across Andervale know to give old Conrad a holler when it comes to rare imports and magical items. So what do you think of the attack on the harbor? Those orcs must be out of their barbarous minds, launching an attack on a city where a great wizard resides. Though even I must admit they put up a hearty effort. I'll tell you, the only time I'd consider waging a suicide campaign like that be if whatever I thought was something worth dying over. Okay.
Bye.
Actually, let's see if he's got anything interesting to trade. He does, being kind of a merchant. He does sell scrolls, which... Scrolls are one-time use, which is why I don't like using them that much. He does technically sell an identifying glass, but let's see if I can get that using a strange, because he has most of my stuff. So the way this works is I have this old wooden fire staff, which is not as good as the earth staff I'm using. So I put this into the trade window. And by then clicking on this sort of scale icon up here, it automatically tries to compensate the difference in value on the different sides. This is what I was basically doing. And I have items with a total value of 26 gold on my side, and he's got nothing on his. So by pressing this, he takes gold from either inventory until it's matched up, if possible. Now if he wouldn't have enough gold, he would put all the gold in that there is, and I would have a bad trade. If I didn't have enough gold to buy what I had put into his side of the menu, he will probably refuse the offer. And then, since I'm happy with this, it's 26 gold for 26 gold, he will accept this. So I just accept, and there we go, we sold that for 26 gold. Now I can just move over to Strange, and I could sell a bunch of stuff, such as these hammers. They're pretty much worthless, but since I have no use for them either, I might as well put them in here to get rid of them. I don't want the fighting knife. What I'm interested in are the identifying glasses. And I have enough gold, so I will be able to buy them, but I'm trying to, if possible, give him stuff that he will buy, so I don't have to give as much actual money to him. I can sell the shells, for example. I don't believe they actually have much of a purpose. And they're not very valuable either. I have them, so I might as well get rid of them. The skulls and such, their ingredients, for most of these I don't know what they're good for, but I would still like to keep them. And I can also shift click instead of drag and drop stuff. I can sell these shoes. I think I want to sell this as well. If I remember correctly, I had a better one. I want to keep the bow just in case, but I can sell the old copper amulet, and that's actually quite valuable. We got that from that shell that the giant clam... no, we got that from the chest that the giant clam gave us. Okay, and we're now actually almost at the necessary value. I would need to read these books before I want to sell them. I can give him the remaining shells. I could probably sell the poison resistance potion, but I want to hold on to that just for now. And the rest of these things, I'm going to sell him the bottle of wine, because I don't intend to get drunk. So now if I press the scale thing... Now if I try to offer the trade like this, it'll probably not work. Yeah. It's just undervalued, and I'm not good at bartering, so if I had a higher skill, I suspect he might say, okay, fine, those 6 pieces of gold, just have it, you're a nice guy. Not going to happen as it is stands. Should also check it. He sells a trip book, which is a knockdown. That's for rogues, but he also sells a certain amount of witchcraft spells. Now I have Oath of Desecration already. I might eventually buy this Malediction skill book, which is a debuff on an enemy, which makes his attacks less likely to hit. But not right now. Right now I'm just going to press this. And so I put in 6 gold to compensate for the difference in value. And now he accepts. Okay.
Bye.
And now if I go into my inventory, I will equip the... Okay, I love the background dialogues, but they're interrupting me ever so slightly. I'm equipping this ring, which gives Lawmaster +1. It also gives poison resistance, but that's not as relevant. You will now see under craftsmanship, I have 2 points of Lawmaster. Wow. These sailors are shouting. Which means there's basically different levels of unidentified items, and the higher the level, the higher Lawmaster I need to be able to identify the item. The identifying glasses go over to Charm, and that's going to be what she does. Yeah, she can also keep the scrolls I have.
Sailor, what news from
I
the
was going
mainland?
to check
Oh,
out
nothing new, sir.
the
Zombies,
books.
skeletons, you know the
Fun
story.
with Fluids. These books are kind of recipe books telling you about crafting recipes. And I'm just going to read these quickly. I'm not going to read out the entire text of them. I think it's probably not very interesting. I'm just going to click them, which unlocks the recipe.
Oh, and don't forget the time he got caught passing a love note to the lizard councillor's wife.
There we go.
Is that why we never sailed to you?
And then under K. No, it's not K, is it? It's
Speaking of youthful gore,
something.
that loopy legionnaire really thinks that orky charm.
Is that
loves
Bertie?
it.
Still
No,
around?
we can look up the
500
recipes we had
yards.
somewhere, was it?
One of her stocks, sir.
I don't remember where exactly it was.
Carriage for a joyride.
Oh, by the way, if we sneak here, we turn to barrels. So it's a kind of environment
Sailor,
specific
what news from the mainland?
transformation
nothing
when we
new,
sneak.
sir.
Something that
Zombies,
fits in, basically.
skeletons,
Was it the
you know the
journal?
story.
Yeah, it was a journal. So here we have our quests. One quest is about these talking statues. That's the guy who jumped to his death because some statue told him that he could fly. Here we have our Source Hunter's Journey, sort of a guiding, overspanning quest.
Straight to the pub.
I don't quite know how long this actually goes. I haven't finished it on my private playthrough yet. Stop shouting in the background,
Is
please.
that why we never sailed to you for
So one thing that's a little annoying is that the repetition rate on these dialogues is fairly high.
That loopy
Is that
legionnaire
Bertie?
really
Still
thinks that
alive?
Try to
orky
walk
charm
away from it a little bit.
loves it.
I wouldn't let
And,
within 500 yards of my
Finally, we have the mysterious murder, which is the actual direct reason we've been called to Cyseal, is that the Councillor Jake has been murdered, and probably by sorcerer's means. We can look up all the past dialogue we've had, so any conversation we had, starting from the very first one, when we talked to when our party talked among themselves. Okay, sorry, I'm kind of disorganized. And we can look at all these past dialogues, and it'll tell us exactly what everyone said. So if we know someone gave us a hint in a dialogue, but we forgot, and maybe that person's gone now, or we can't find them, we can go back here and read it all again. Got a map, of course, pretty large, but
Is that why we never sailed to you for gore anymore?
not that relevant, at least not. We have a minimap, that's more important, I think. And it gives us our recipes. So it tells us from
I wouldn't let an orc within 500 yards of my loving nature.
from the crafting and cooking with Meridino. It basically copies the entire text of the book into this recipe writer here in the journal. Kind of like that, because girls will put ribbons and bows on your clubs and axes. And this is sort of some surrounding stuff as well, making it seem a little more like a book. But it also contains a recipe of some sorts. For example, this one tells us that a good arrow starts with its shaft. You can make your own arrow shafts out of any tree branch. All it takes is a knife. Then create your own special arrowheads to really surprise the enemy, but we'll leave that for another chapter. And if you think a dagger takes you too up close and personal to an ugly enemy's face, try sticking it at the end of a tree branch so you can poke him from a bit of a distance. If you're not the stabbing type, glue two branches together and you've got yourself a staff. Okay, part 2 of the Bachelor's Guide to Cooking, because girls' dishes take ages and come with too many vegetables.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
let an orc within 500 yards of my loving nature.
And
Ever hear about the time the captain took the Duchess of Ferrol's carriage for a joyride?
there's some recipes in here as well. For example, it tells me that if I have flour and water, I can make dough. And if I add cheese, I can make it into bread dough, cheese bread dough, or Sicilian pie dough if I add fish, or pizza if I add pizza sauce. And to make pizza sauce, I smash a tomato with a hammer, for all I care. it's just a fun little way to basically package the recipes that there are in the game in a little sort of just in a little more interesting way. I'm sorry if this takes too long. I'm trying to explain everything so you're not left standing there and not understanding what's going on, but I feel like I'm going into too much detail. So it's very similar with these guys. These are actually much shorter. So the Fun with Fluids Volume 6, for example, tells us about Fahrenheit, which is an intimidating plant, named after one of Rivellon's fiercest heroes. And it's basically apparently some kind of buff. It doesn't tell us precisely what it does. To get the precise effect, we would actually have to craft it. But basically, we take a potion, an empty potion flask. We would combine that with the Fahrenheit, and that would give us a potion which maybe gives +1 strength. I don't know, but that's kind of how it works. And they don't all contain a direct recipe. This one, for example, only tells me that there are potions which protect me from elements, or which make me strong or debuff enemies. Stuff like that. And this one tells me that if I have a knife, I can sharpen it into a dagger on an anvil. Stuff like that. Just fun little things. There's actually one more thing I want to do in the harbor.
Don't forget the time he got caught passing a love note to the lizard
With these three guys, Lewis, Philip, and Max.
Greetings.
Our home, our livelihood, all sunk in a matter of minutes, but while we could do naught but look on. Okay, so tell me about yourselves. Well, we were merchants, what seems like a moment ago. With our ship sunk, we're little more than 3 men with nothing more to say than boo. Okay, so what happened here? These bleeding orcs, they can't keep off this place for the life of them. They came in here slinging fireballs and swinging swords. Wasn't a thing we could do to defend ourselves. So about finding work. With our ship gone, nothing for it but to get a job. Slim pickings around here, that's for sure. Maybe you can keep an eye out, though. Okay.
Bye.
Ask the source hunter. Go on.
And that's actually given us a quest.
I wouldn't let an orc within
Basically-
500 yards of my loving nature.
Don't want tutorial hints. The journal. Tells us that these 3 sailors are now out of work.
A source hunter. Who better to
And if we happen to come across a job for them, we should at least try to arrange for them to get a job. There are a few more, actually quite a lot of people listed what to meet in town, and considering the fact that I take so long for these things,
I said to him, I said myself, if I don't start...
Plenty of fish in the sea, but I got the foulest of the lot in my racks.
that's very nice. Considering how long I take for these, it might not be this episode that we get to finish exploring Cyseal proper. And I won't go in and open, for example, all of these fish racks and fish piles and all that. Maybe off camera, but fish are not valuable at all. Just trying to find out if there's any remaining NPCs here that we can talk to, which would be green dots on the minimap. And there do not appear to be. And I just noticed that the portrait I choose for Charm does completely not fit with the long brown hair that I've actually given her character. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess.
Plenty of fish in the sea, but I got the foulest of the lot in my racks.
Actually, I don't think I mentioned this yet. A user by the name of Thordal, which I'm hoping I pronounced that the way you intended it to be pronounced, commented on the second video of this series. Unfortunately, you've disabled Google Comments, so I can't reply to your comment. Well, you somehow disabled replying, or you didn't enable it. So I cannot reply to that comment directly, so it's not much to say. I guess if you want me to respond to what you write, you're gonna have to check your Google settings and make sure that you have enabled others to reply to your comments. Otherwise, I can only respond in video, which would probably be quite slow. Okay, we don't have to go in there just yet.
I found something.
I don't think I really want to dig out graves just yet. I'm just trying to see if this tombstone has anything interesting. It doesn't. Okay. In this kind of game, or this game, and I think in the original Divinity games as well, tombstones tend to be hilarious. They have sort of funny little things on them that you wouldn't expect on a normal tombstone. Anyway, for the quest, for the actual reason we're here, that murder of Councillor Jake, we're supposed to talk to the leader of the Cyseal Legion, who's basically in charge of the investigation. And we haven't actually been called on by him, we've called on by that mage Arhu. And I guess it would only be proper that we introduce ourselves to that other guy as well. And I'm going the completely wrong way. Well, not completely wrong. I went here, and I have to go here. It's just not quite so easy. And I won't be going out into the wilderness just yet. There's a bunch of fairly difficult combat outside, and I would like to get some quest experience.
You don't think it's infected, do you?
Oh, come on now. I pulled her off you before she could do any real damage.
Any real damage? Are you joking? I've been mauled. I'll be disfigured for life.
Oh, come on with the dramatics. It's not as bad as all that.
The face, Virius. She bit me in the face.
Look on the bright side. Everyone knows the ugly soldiers are the most ferocious.
Ugly'll be the least of it. The beast looks rabid.
In that case, you'll have the pleasure of putting her down yourself.
I wish for you to try it, Screech woman. Oh, the beast speaks. So you've half a brain behind that feral maw, have you? The cretin's question crossed her lips and aped an air of aptitude.
Hey, Tull, I think that was an insult.
Don't pay attention to the beast, Virius. You'll only encourage it.
Ah, brilliant. Okay, I just wanted to hear that dialogue. If there's a lot of dialogue in the game, I will not be doing much talking. Okay, so let's talk to Talia, who's apparently...
You don't think it's infected?
Greetings.
Okay, don't want to hear that twice, but she's apparently been bitten by this bear daughter. And, at least the daughter part is... is it Viking or some Nordic thing? It means daughter of. It's, sort of like the... I think it's a Viking Nordic thing. I don't know where exactly it comes from, but it's like the son, which you sometimes find at the end of Nordic names, which is basically son of. It's just the way their surnames often were built. I think there's a tradition of doing that in Russia as well. The something like Ivanovich, which would be son of Ivan. Stuff like that. And so basically bear daughter would be daughter of bear, which I believe that's actually meant to be a bear as in the furry animal. Okay, hey, who's that then? Come on, stand where my good eye can see you. And I'm talking with the wrong person again. So, blah, blah, blah. I have to remember to switch characters.
Greetings.
Okay, continue. Easy, Tull, that's the source hunter you're talking to. A curious situation you've got here. Is the woman in this cage under arrest? She may have the look of a woman if you squint hard enough, but she's no more than a wild animal. You can actually see her sort of injury in her portrait. That's quite a nice touch. Okay, so continue. We got reports of a strange-looking outsider skulking through the town with her bow drawn. I found her crouched behind a tree, taking aim at a fat old rat trotting along the city walls. I tapped her on the shoulder to see what was what, and the beast startled like a wild cat and lunged right at me. Bit Talia right in the face, she did. It wasn't pretty, and now it's got a chunk ripped off it to boot. Yeah. Okay. Enjoy it while you can, Ver. There's not another legionnaire in the cohort that'll have you if I go rabid. Okay, so what will become of this admittedly strange stranger? It's just those little things that make the dialogue so good. Sorry if I keep going on about that, but I really like the writing in the game. Okay, well, that's to be decided. She doesn't seem to be sick, despite Tully's moaning. We can't keep her here forever, but we can't well send her into the wilds again, can we? Okay, so perhaps it'd be worth taking the stranger under our wing. She'll likely come in handy if we can trust her to watch our backs. After all, a fearless hunter might prove quite useful in our investigation. Or for our investigation, rather. Well, that's a relief, ain't it? We found a good home for her after all, Tull. Heed me, Source Hunter. She's not good for anything more than cannon fodder, and don't turn your back on her or when she's got a bow within arm's reach.
Bye.
So, we have now gotten an additional party member. The maximum number of party members is 4, and I will keep Beardaughter with me, and there's another person in town that I want to get. Okay, so let's talk to her. She's got an exclamation mark. Source Hunter, I have heard tales both grand and terrible about the world of humans. I myself was caged one moment and freed the next by our kind. In Home Forest, every creature acts according to the nature of its kind. Birds frighten easily, badgers fear little, but among men there are no guarantees. Let's be a little poetic here, not quite so dreary and negative. There's little in our world more variable than the minds of men. It is the source of great beauty and much despair, and all of it uniquely human. We take each in stride and prepare for either. You'll find your fellows surprise you for better or for worse in equal parts, Beardaughter. It is difficult for me to claim humanity as you do. I am still learning to see myself in the faces of those I meet, and those I meet do not always see themselves in me. It is strange to stand with one foot in the forest and the other in the city, Source Hunter. I am glad that now I have you standing beside me. Okay, so she's kind of like a Mowgli person brought up in the forest. Okay, and here we have her bow. And also a dagger, and taking these is not theft. If it were theft, the pointer would now be a sort of red hand. And she actually fights with a bow. Well, I probably could give her other weapons, of course, but it's up to me to decide what I give her on level ups. But she's spec'd by default to be a level 2 expert marksman, and she's already got a ricochet skill, which basically bounces between a few targets up to 4 times, so I think it can hit up to 5 guys if they're standing close enough to each other. She's got a sort of jumping away skill, which allows her to see how far this goes. Quite far. You can go probably... Actually, it should probably tell me, right? We can jump up to 15 meters away from our current position using that, so if we're in real trouble and we need to get out in a hurry, then this costs 4 action points and moves me a lot further than I could run using 4 action points. And I wouldn't, if there's fire all around me, for example, I could probably jump out of that without triggering the fire environmental effect. Because obviously walking on fire sets you on fire, hurts you, all that. She can cure poison, and she has a ranged power stance, which is similar to something that the warrior has, the melee power stance. More damage, less chance to hit, and my attacks cost 1 extra action. Okay.
Recruits, that was sloppier than Cysealian stew.
Now let's go in here, because this is where we'll actually find Aurelius, the leader of the... Aureus, actually, not Aurelius. The leader of the Cyseal Legion. And, for example, taking from this row of books would be considered theft, which is why the icon has turned red. Okay, let's talk to Aureus, though.
Greetings!
Wow, that was loud. What have we here, then? A so-called Source Hunter, eh? Ha! Look, do what you must in Cyseal, but don't make waves, and don't interfere with the Legion's affairs, you hear? I have enough on my mind running expeditions into hostile territory. Okay, so let's discuss the murder. Gods above, some politician snuffs it and everyone's in an uproar. Ridiculous. I told that wizard brat of an Arhu not to bother, but he just had to send for Source Hunters, didn't he? Bloody magicians. They see a pigeon poop and think sorcery's afoot. Nevertheless, I want to be kept in the loop, understand? I am in command of this town, not Mayor Cyseal, not Arhu, and definitely not some hotshot Source Hunter. So investigate Jake's death if you feel so inclined, but report back to me the moment you discover something out of the ordinary. Okay. The scene of the crime is over at the King Crab Inn. You can tell the guard you have my permission to enter. Now off with you. Okay. And the prime suspect, even though we don't actually technically know that yet, is Jake's wife, Esmeralda. So let's talk about her. Esmeralda is Jake's wife, well, widow. Everyone in town, down to the crabs on the beach, is convinced she killed him. Now the girl has the reputation of being a flirt, there is that, but that doesn't suffice as evidence, wouldn't you say? Or do Source Hunters rely on hearsay alone, perhaps? That certainly would explain some of the cock-ups you've made in the past. What? You're going to stand there and claim with a straight face your order never wrongly tortured and executed anyone? Hardly. But I won't stand for such nonsense. If you bring evidence before me, I'll evaluate it with perfect objectivity. The Legion relies on reason, see, not idle superstition. Okay, let's discuss the undead then. Listen, you may be here for other matters entirely, but if there's one useful thing you can do around here, it's to stick your nose into the affairs of the undead. The stench will likely make you gasp for air, but between you and me, those 7 worthless gods up there, it's about time... Between you, me, and the 7 worthless gods up there, it's about time someone other than the Legion gives this charade a shot. I can only hope some fresh ideas are coursing through that source-obsessed brain of yours, and that they will take root before the undead scoop those same brains out of your shattered skulls. They seem to be a bit weaker in the west. As good a place as any to start if you want to flex your muscles, so this is basically a bit of a hint. Don't go to the east yet, go to the west if you want to fight. The undead are a little easier that way. Okay, so let's ask some questions about matters concerning the Legion, and I'll try to improve on my reading a little bit. The Legion is none of your concern, but fine, go ahead. Okay, I don't believe he actually takes in those sailors, so I don't need to ask him that. I mean, I guess I will. There are some sailors looking for work, perhaps there's a place for them in the Legion. Are you daft? I need soldiers, not sailors. Who cares if they can tie a knot and blow a god's damned whistle? Or do you simply want the undead to get free food? Huh? Is that it? And by the way, since this is a sort of polytheistic culture, he's not saying goddamned, he's saying god's damned. Just a little thing again. So let's discuss these expeditions into hostile territory you mentioned. The bravest of the brave went out looking for the source of the undead. Volunteers all those men, for that's the pact we made. The walking dead spawn in endless number, but someone or something must be responsible for each and every one of the miserable buggers. And that is why the Legion is making renewed efforts to locate this accursed fountainhead of death. Too long have we been on the defensive. It is time for action, even if it claims more Legion lives. Souls of steel to a man, my soldiers. They fight by the lighthouse, they fight by the burial mounds, and they fight by the old church. Gods grant that they may find the rotten root from which those scuffling monsters spring, and that they may fulfill their mission. Okay, so in regards to the lighthouse. There's a lighthouse to the west, up in the bluffs overlooking the sea. No man has gone there in a decade, and yet a light shines forth from its pinnacle every night. The locals say it's haunted, and if there's ghosts involved, maybe necromantic magic is in play as well. Half a dozen legionnaires have gone to find out. So far I can but hope they are safe. Okay, so about the burial mounds? There are ancient funeral grounds all over the place north of the city. Good as place as any to start looking for necromancers, wouldn't you say? Doesn't exactly take a genius to figure that one out. Some local archaeologist offered to tag along with the men. He is hoping his knowledge on the subject may prove to be a boon. And finally, let's discuss the old church. There's a church to the northeast of here, built atop the very place where once stood a temple dedicated to the source. The Cysealians razed it and built a church for the 7, supposedly to symbolize the victory of the gods over evil sorcery, or some such superstitious mumbo-jumbo. Sorry. Anyway, when the dead rose, that is where they were first spotted, which makes it a likely candidate to house the origin of the outbreak. May my soldiers make it there and back again unscathed. Okay, so some additional questions maybe? So what in your opinion are the orcs doing on the beach? I'd say they're looking for weak spots in our defense. They can't make an attack over land for fear of Aru's magical machines, so they're trying their luck by sea. They won't succeed though, not against the Legion. Okay, you mentioned a pact made with your legionnaires. So I did, the pact of volunteers. Not a single of my men and women wants to remain in Cyseal, and frankly I can't blame them. Which is why I personally signed their transfer orders the moment they make it back from a mission behind enemy lines. The chances of survival during these sorties are about 1 in 10, you see. And that is the reason I don't simply order my legionnaires to go on expeditions any longer. Every soldier can volunteer, and if they're successful, they bought themselves a boat ride home. Okay, and Aru tells me there might be a sect at work around Cyseal. Yes, and he also spends most of his time in the guise of a cat licking God's knows which body parts. Shouldn't it be God's know? Anyway, sects, sorcerers. He'll be seeing flying carpets next. Okay, let's change the subject, and I'll take my leave.
Bye.
Okay, we have gotten a bunch of new quests. So an update to the mysterious murder, an update to the Undead Scourge quest, which is Aureus wants us to find out why there's so many undead around here. There's one Legion expedition to the lighthouse, one to the burial mounds, and one to the church, and we're supposed to investigate all of these basically. We will have a lot on our hands, but I think next episode we might just be able to get out of town, but maybe not. So I guess even though this was a talky episode, I hope you enjoyed it anyway. I'll try to be a little better on the sort of being organized and reading the dialogues. I made a lot of mistakes this time, so I'm sorry about that. I hope you enjoyed anyway, and I guess I'll see you soon. Bye bye.